everyone. So it's March 13 and I'm going to work on an adhesive experiment. It's going to be over a long period of time. And I actually wrote down what I wanted to say so that I wouldn't miss any details. There has been extensive online debate regarding the most effective adhesive for glass bird baths, bird feeders, and other glass garden decor. Personally, I have always relied on E6000 glue for bird baths. However, I recently made a switch to Clear Epoxy for my glass bird feeders and glass flowers due to its superior durability when subjected to hanging weight. Here's some of my bird feeders that I made. So they're about 6 or 7 pounds each. I did encounter an issue with the E6000 glue once when it began melting under the scorching Florida sun, causing my bird feeder to start falling apart. I'm uncertain whether this was due to the adhesive itself or if I had not allowed it sufficient time to dry before exposing it to the elements. For these reasons, I decided to conduct an experiment using various adhesives and silicones that have been recommended for these projects online. My objective is to determine which adhesives perform best when exposed to outdoor weather conditions. Living in Florida, our winters are relatively mild, but temperatures can occasionally drop below 30 degrees. On the other hand, our summers are hot, making them the ultimate test for the adhesive's ability to withstand prolonged exposure and keep the glass intact. For this experiment, I carefully selected adhesives and silicones that are both recommended and readily available in craft sizes at popular retailers such as Lowe's, Walmart, and other big box stores. The adhesives and silicones I will be using are JB Weld Clear Epoxy, Loctite Power Grab Construction Adhesive Clear, E6000 Clear, Gorilla Clear Grip Contact Adhesive. It works like E6000. Gorilla Max Strength Construction Adhesive Clear. GE Advanced Silicone Clear. And Flex Glue Rubberized Waterproof Adhesive. To simulate the average weight of my bird feeders, I will be filling mason jars with sand. These jars, along with other glassware, will serve as surfaces for gluing glass to glass, allowing me to assess the endurance of the adhesives. By using a hanging weight, I aim to determine the durability of the adhesives under both weight and pressure, as well as their ability to withstand outdoor elements. Once the pieces are glued together, I will allow them to dry for a week before subjecting them to outdoor conditions. Okay, so I'm going to get started. So the first thing I did was drill a hole in these mason jar lids. I'm going to use these small ones for the top. And I'm going to put a hook in, an eye hook in it. So I got these eye hooks. So they're going to hang like bird feeders. I bought this play sand at Lowe's. I'm going to use this to fill up the mason jars. Okay, as you can see, I already labeled the jars and I put a clear coat on it so it will last for a few months, because I'm going to hang these outside for maybe 3 to 4 months. So I've got these labels on here. Okay, and these are the pieces I'm going to glue together. And I'm also going to use these plates. So I'm just trying to simulate the bird feeders and how I glue them together, because I use plates and dishes and candlesticks, so I have a little bit of everything here. Okay. Okay, the first one I'm going to glue together is, I'm going to do the JB Weld Epoxy. And I'm going to put a glass plate on it like this. This will simulate having a roof. So I'm actually going to glue the bottom and glue it upside down like this. So I'll do that to every one of these with the different glues. Okay. So the epoxy is a 2-part, so I have to mix it in a cup. Just take the lid off. Just take as much as I need. That's it. Mix it together. Okay, so I'm going to put this on top here. I'm going to flip it over. And I'll let it dry like that overnight. I'll do the same for all the other glues. Ooh, so it's a very thick gel. Look at that. Okay, now I'm going to do the E6000. Okay, next is the Gorilla Glue. It's like E6000. Okay, now I'm going to do the Gorilla Glue Max Strength Clear. So it comes with this craft size cap. So it looks like you gotta cut the tip off here, like that. Okay. Well, this one's a very thick gel too. Oh boy. So I think I'm gonna spread it on here just like I did the Loctite because it's very thick. So the next one's going to be the GE silicone. Okay, so the last one I'm going to do is this flex glue. Alright, that was really hard to push out. So okay, I think this is all I'm going to do for tonight since it's getting dark out. I'll let these dry overnight and glue some more together tomorrow. So far, the JB Weld goes on really easy. Loctite was very thick and hard to get out of the tube. E6000 works great, came out of the tube fine. Gorilla Glue, like E6000, is the same. Gorilla Max Strength was really thick too. It was hard to get out of the tube, but seems like a good adhesive. The GE silicone, a little bit thicker than E6000, but it was okay to put on. And the flex glue was very thick too. So, okay, we'll just let that dry overnight. Okay, so it's the next morning, and I made a last minute decision to switch from these green plates to the blue plates. And the reason is because I'm going to put this glass on top of here like this to glue it, and the edges don't all touch. So in order to make sure that it's like a fair experiment, I want to make sure that all the edges touch. So the blue one is bigger and it will sit on there flat like that. So I think that'll work better for the experiment. So I'm going to take these away. Okay, so I'm also going to be putting sand into all of these mason jars just to simulate the weight of the normal bird feeders that I usually make. I want to make sure that they're, you know, 6 or 7 pounds, just like I usually do. So I'm going to use this play sand and start filling up these jars. Okay, so I put sand in all these mason jars, and I even put them in these bigger ones. And I'm also going to put sand in these smaller ones too when I get to it. But I'm going to go ahead and start gluing these plates on top of these mason jars here, like that. Okay. Okay, so I'm first going to mix the epoxy. Put it along the edge here. Okay, next I'm going to do the Loctite. Now I'm going to do E6000. Now using Gorilla Glue that's like E6000. Now I'm going to do Gorilla Max Strength Clear. Okay, now I'm going to do the GE silicone. Okay, and the last one I'm going to glue is the Flex Glue Clear. So everything's glued up, and I think I'm just going to let these dry overnight before I glue more together. Okay, so now I'm going to glue these little candle holders onto the bottom of these mason jars, just to kind of simulate what I actually use in my bird feeders. I'm going to glue this onto the bottom like that, and it's just going to hang on the very bottom. So I'm going to do that to each one. I'm going to put a little bit of sand in here too to give it a little weight. Okay, so I'm going to start with the epoxy. Loctite. I'm going to use E6000. Gorilla Glue that's like E6000. And the Gorilla Glue Max Strength. And we've got the GE silicone. Okay, and then the last one here is the Flex Glue. Okay, so I'm going to let these dry overnight, and I'll glue some more tomorrow. Okay, day 3 of gluing these together, starting with the epoxy. Okay, so now I'm going to put the last part together. I'm going to put the top on. So I have these little jars, and I put hooks into the top of these little mason jars like this. I screwed it with nuts and washers and put some sand in here. Put it on here like this. And then screw this on here. There we go. So that's going to be the top. And I'm going to flip these over and glue this on the other side. And I put this pole here in the back so I have something to tie these to so they don't tip over. Okay. So, okay, now I'm going to do the Loctite. I'm going to do Gorilla Glue. Gorilla Max Strength. There's silicone. Okay, now the flex. Okay, so everything is glued up, and I'm going to give it about a week to dry before I hang them outside, just to make sure that everything is dry. Okay, it's April 17. I let it dry inside for a couple weeks. And I've got them hanging on a conduit bar attached to a plant stand. And this is a nice, bright, sunny spot, so it'll put them to the test. It'll get rain and hot sun. I'm going to leave it out here for a few months and see what happens. So I weighed these too, and they're 7 pounds each, so it's the same weight as the bird feeders that I actually make. Okay, so it's exactly 24 hours later. It's April 18, and already having problems with one of these. It looks like the E6000 has melted, which I have run into this problem before with one of my bird feeders. It just started falling apart in the hot sun. It's not even that hot today. It's probably in the low 80s, but I know the hot sun is probably 90, 95, but yeah, E6000 is melting. Okay, I stuck it back together, but I'm not sure that's gonna last for long. Oh, it's starting to come apart. Huh. Alright. Oh, this one's starting to fall apart too. The Gorilla Glue that's like E6000, that one's starting to pull apart in the hot sun. The rest of these seem to be holding up so far. Okay, so I checked the temperature for today and it was 90 to 92, and that would be in the shade, and 40% humidity. So I can imagine what it was in the hot sun. So I put out this thermometer, and I'm going to check it tomorrow when it's the hottest, around noon or 1 o'clock, and see how hot it actually gets. I put this out about 10 minutes ago and it's already at almost 100. So yeah, it gets pretty hot here, and it's not even summer yet. So we'll see what happens. I'll check it again tomorrow. Okay, this is day 3. And 2 of them fell on the ground. Oh boy. E6000 and the Gorilla Glue that's like E6000. So that glue melted. Okay, I'm just going to leave them here on the ground till the end of the experiment, because I wanted to leave these up for a few months and see how they do in all kinds of weather. So that's 2 down. We'll see how the rest do. They seem like they're holding up okay for now. Just 3 days. Alright, let's see what the temperature is. Almost 100, about 98. And it's about 5 o'clock right now, so it's probably a lot hotter around noon or 1 o'clock today. Alright. Okay, today is April 30th. It's about 7 p.m. And just taking a look to see how things are doing. It's about 80 degrees. So looks like everything's holding up except for these, of course. The ones that fell off already. It's fallen apart in other spots too. I'm just leaving it on the ground to see what happens. This one's still together, E6000. Gorilla Glue came apart. These are still holding up. The silicone. All right. Okay, it's May 18 and it's been raining off and on for the last week. So I came out to check to see how these are doing, and one of them broke apart. This one is the JB Weld Epoxy, which I've been using for the bird feeders lately. So looks like that one doesn't hold up as good either. Came apart. Temperature is about 85. So that's the 3rd one to go. Loctite's still holding up. Gorilla Max Strength is holding up still. GE Silicone's good. And Flex Glue is still good. So we'll just keep checking on it and see how they do. Okay, thought I'd do another video. Today is June 6th. Really hot today. It was 95, but I'm sure it was a lot hotter in the sun. Oh yeah, look at that. So it's like 110 in the sun, and it's almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's probably hotter than that earlier. But, so the broken ones, JB Weld and Gorilla Glue and E6000. I'm just leaving them there. Loctite's still holding up. The Gorilla Max Strength is holding up. The GE Silicone is good. Flex Glue's good. So I'll just keep checking on it. It's supposed to rain this afternoon. Okay, today is June 21st, the first day of summer. And it's a hot one. These have been through a few thunderstorms, and today is August 4th. It's very humid. We're expecting more storms today. I think there's a tropical storm coming. But these have been through a lot of heat and a lot of rain. And these other ones have held up pretty well. The Flex Glue, GE Silicone, Gorilla Max Strength, and the Loctite so far have held up. And yeah, the rest of these broke within the first couple days. Temperature is about 80. And I'm going to leave these out for a little bit longer and see how they do. Okay, so I wanted to show you this bird bath that I made a year ago, and this fell apart in a couple spots. I had it outside, and I glued this one together with the E6000, but it came apart in a couple spots here and here, so I'm going to have to glue those back together. I'll probably use GE silicone and see how that holds up. But yeah, so E6000 works okay if it's in the shade. If I want the best, I would probably use GE silicone and epoxy. That seems to hold up the best, at least here in Florida. So this goes like this, and that was my bird bath. So these flowers that I made a month ago, I used silicone with the hockey puck and glass, and that didn't seem to hold up very well. So the glass fell off. All of the glass pieces that were glued with silicone held up. But the glass on plastic didn't hold up, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would use epoxy between the hockey puck and the glass. So I'll have to glue that back together. And this one fell too. That was off of this one. This one is glass on glass, the bottle and the flower, and that held up. So that worked out alright. Glass on plastic, no. Glass on glass, yes, for GE silicone. And I use epoxy for the rest. And these are flowers that I made 9 months ago, and I glued these on with epoxy on the glass bottles, and that's still holding up really well. And this one, glass bottle and epoxy. So I always recommend epoxy because it seems to hold up well for just about everything. And the GE silicone is okay for some things. Here are some of my bird feeders. They're still holding up. I used E6000 and epoxy on this one. It's still holding up alright. And this one's still holding up. I used epoxy on this one. And this one was epoxy. It's still holding up. This one. I started using epoxy on all my bird feeders. And also with epoxy, it does turn a little bit yellow over time. It's not a big deal, but it does hold up really well, so I can deal with that. Alright, so it's August 17, 2024, and I'm going to conclude this experiment. It's still hot out, and I don't think anything else is going to change. So, going to show you the JB Weld epoxy. One part of it didn't hold up well. I think I would have put more epoxy around it if I was making a bird feeder, so that's the only part that split apart, was this one edge here. Let's see what this one is. The Loctite works really well. It's still holding up. With the Loctite, it was very thick. So if I was going to continue using this, I would use a caulking gun with the glue, because it was hard to squeeze out of the bottle. So, but it seems to hold up pretty well. The E6000, of course, that came down right away, just from this top part here. Let's see if the rest of this is loose. The rest of it's holding up, even this bottom part. So it was just one edge that melted and it kind of fell apart. So yeah, the rest of it didn't melt in the sun. It's been through a lot of rainstorms and a lot of heat, but the rest of it's pretty sturdy still. Okay, this Gorilla Glue, which is, this one came apart in a couple places. The top part, and then this part came apart, so this kind of melted. The other pieces are still tight. But yeah, it's just like E6000. Gorilla Max Strength, that held up very well. Didn't come apart at all. This is another one that was very thick, and I would probably use a caulking gun if it comes in a tube. So that one worked really well. GE silicone worked really well. It didn't come apart at all. Of course, it's not crystal clear. You can see it's a little bit cloudy, so that can make a difference in whatever is being glued together. But otherwise it seemed to have held up pretty well. And the flex glue held up really well too. This is another one that was very thick, so I'd probably use a caulk gun if it comes in a tube. So my recommendation is, at least for me, I'm going to continue using the epoxy for the bird feeders. That seems to work really well for me. And I'm also going to continue using the GE silicone for bird baths and other things, because that seemed to hold up pretty well too in this heat. I wouldn't want to use the E6000 out here in the hot sun anymore because it falls apart sometimes. And of course the Loctite and the Gorilla Max and the Flex Glue all worked really well. They're just very thick glue, and it was just hard to get out of the tube. So I hope this helps with your future projects and deciding which adhesives to use. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Check out the description below for all information included in this experiment.